All right, well today, welcome to chair yoga. I thought we would do some grounding practices today. So just taking your hands and pushing them into your thighs, slowly pressing your hands toward your knees. And then maybe they're coming back or lifting them up and coming and starting more towards your hips again. And then just sliding your hands down your thighs. So it's helping to stretch and lengthen the front of your thigh here, the front of your quadricep. And when you get to your knees, slowly release and come back. We'll do that one more time. And then gently resting with your palms either down to your thighs or resting your hands up. Up tends to be more receiving, down tends to be more grounding. So the breathing today, we're just going to connect with the center of the planet. So let's get situated, sitting up nice and tall, pressing your sit bones into the chair, allowing your spine to lengthen and the top of your head reaching towards the ceiling. And just tucking your chin ever so slightly, making sure it's parallel to the floor. Your shoulders are down and back. And your feet are gently resting on the floor. If they're not, you can always put a block or a book underneath your feet to give you a little bit more connection to the earth. And then from here, if you want to close your eyes or find a soft gaze, we're going to connect our tailbone and find a little white ball of energy at the tailbone and connect the tailbone down to the center of the earth. So slowly, maybe like it's a string expanding down the tailbone, down into the chair, into the earth. Going through the 3 different major layers of the earth and down to the center core. So maybe when your little ball of white energy connects to the core, you might hear a little ding or just a little connection, being that string from your tailbone to the center of the planet connect. And we're going to use the breath now. We're going to inhale one direction and exhale the other. So it could go either way, and maybe you'll switch in the middle. But using those 2 points, the tailbone and the center of the planet, to be your inhale and exhale switching points. So maybe exhale, letting the breath and that ball of energy sink to the center of the planet. And then inhale, drawing up all of that grounded energy up through the earth, up through the crust, up through the foundation of your house, up into your chair and up into your tailbone. And then maybe exhaling all the way back down. So maybe allowing your feet to get a little bit heavier. So you're connecting from your tailbone and also through the bottom of your feet. And we'll practice this breath for about 3 more minutes. So maybe you're inhaling, drawing up all that earth energy into your body, and exhale, let everything sink back down to the center of the earth. Inhaling to rise, exhale to lower. And then from here, on your next inhale, we're just going to add a few rounds of breathing all the way out through the top of the head, and then all the way back down the body, back down to the center of the earth. So just expanding the breath a little bit now that we're nice and grounded. So inhaling up through the planet, up through the body, out through the top of the head, out into the cosmos, and then all the way back down to the earth. So let's take maybe 4 or 5 rounds of breathing like that, finding this nice vertical breathing. And just letting the breath flow easily up and easily down. And then bring your awareness to rest at your heart space, maybe bringing one hand to cover the heart and then the other. Just drawing that breath energy into the heart space, breathing in and out through the heart 3 times. And then releasing the hands down to the sides. We'll inhale, arms reach high overhead, fingers touch, and exhale, sweep your arms back down to your sides. Inhale, stretch high. Exhale, lower. Last time, inhale, arms rise. Hands touch and come down the center. Pausing with pressing hands together. If you wish to set an intention for class today, maybe there's a word or phrase that comes to mind. And breathing 3 times into your hands, into your hearts. And from here, clasping the hands, palms reach down, finding this circle of joy, pressing palms forward, tucking the chin right in the back. And we'll inhale, lift the hands high overhead. And exhale, release your hands down to your sides. Hands come back to the heart, palms press down, clasp the hands. Press forwards, round the back. Inhale to rise, lift high. And exhale, release the hands. Coming back to palms clasped again at the center. Elbows reaching out to the sides. Press palms forward, round the back, tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, rise the arms. And exhale, release the arms down to the side. So finding a little twist here, we're just gonna tap to the left and tap to the right with your hands. So one hand to the opposite knee in the back of the chair, so twist. Raise your arms, sweep them around, and tap the opposite knee in the back of the chair, twist, and then raise your arms and go back over to the other side. So twist, tap and twist a little more, and then raise your arms and switch sides. Twist, tap, and twist, and raise your arms and switch. Back and forth, warming up those side oblique muscles. And then this next round, we're going to pause and hold your twist for 3 breaths here. So sitting up tall, twist and breathe. Release the hands, twist to the other side, hold, and breathe for 3 counts. And release back to center. Lifting your toes off the ground, hands to the knees, rolling the knees in circles to the right or the left. But then other direction, lifting the heels, rolling the knees. And then flatten the feet to the ground, find circles over your knees. And then switch and draw circles over the other way. And then go behind your knees and draw little figure 8s with maybe your first finger. Maybe straighten your legs a little bit so it's easier to get there. You can draw 8s, and you can draw circles. And then bringing your feet back underneath you. I'm gonna bring my right foot up, so my right ankle is on top of my hold the bottom of my foot and my knee leaning forward to stretch out my right thigh. Gaze maybe to the floor. And then come back up again, sitting nice and tall. And then leaning forward again to stretch that hip joint out. Sitting back up tall. And then leaning forward for one more stretch. And sit up tall. And we're gonna bring, let's see, we'll bring the hands to the top of the knee and just rotate the hip side to side. You can also hold under your thigh. You can also just tap your toes on the ground from side to side. Whatever option works for you here. Back and forth, and then we'll lower that foot down to the ground. Sit up tall, stretch open your throat, look up to the ceiling. And then round your chin down to your chest. Inhale, open the throat, look up to the ceiling. And tuck the chin to the chest. Open the throat, last time, looking high. And tucking the chin back down to the chest. All right, come back to a neutral neck, neutral chin. We're gonna switch sides. So now I'm gonna take my left ankle, put it on top of my right thigh, and just gently hold my foot, the bottom of my foot and my knee. And I'll just gently lean forward. So you might be flat forward, you might be just ever so slightly leaning, but feeling that extra stretch in the left thigh. And whenever you need to, just come out of it a little bit. And then lower back down into the stretch. Again, releasing, sitting tall. And then last time, leaning forward. Breathing into that thigh, allowing it to release a little bit. And then slowly coming back up, we'll bring the hands to the top of the knee or under the thigh, and gently bring that knee side to side. And then lowering that foot back to center, heel and toe the feet, lifting the heels and then lifting the toes. Straightening the right foot, we're going to roll that foot in circles, rolling the ankle. 5 circles one way, 5 circles the other. And then pull the toes towards you, lifting the leg so it's parallel to the other leg. Really press through that heel towards the camera. And then release that foot down. Take a deep breath in and out. And then other side, lifting your left leg, rolling your ankle in 5 circles one direction. 5 circles the other direction. And then point and flex a little bit. And then pressing through that heel. So really pressing that leg, straightening the leg's parallel to the thigh, the other leg on the chair. Pressing it forward. And then releasing that leg down to the ground, heel toeing your feet up and down. And then finding some stillness, just planting your hands on your lap, dropping your shoulders down your back. Maybe close your eyes and notice your breathing. Taking a little pause. And then gently opening your eyes. Let's find a little bit of a side stretch. So lifting one arm overhead and then the other holding onto your chair. Stretching up and over, left and right. A couple more times. And then the next round, let's lift and hold. So drawing your heart space forward so it's open. You're opening your armpit, stretching from hip to fingertips. And then release when you're ready on the other side. Lift, reach over to the other side. And let's do that one more time each side, lifting one arm up and overhead. Maybe keeping your arm as straight as it can, or maybe in a slight arch. Like you're reaching and stretching out of your hip here, pressing down with your buttocks on the chair. Lifting, reaching a little bit more with your hands. And then release down to your sides. Last time. Other arm lifts up and over. Reaching out of your rib cage, feeling the length between all the ribs, getting a little bit more space in there. Reach a little bit more with your hand and release down to the chair. Holding the back of the chair. Let's slide over just a little bit, holding the back of your chair. We're just going to gently squeeze your shoulder blades together and open the chest and the throat looking forward. So just a slight arch in your back, whatever feels comfortable for you. If you need to keep your gaze forward, that's fine. Just really squeezing the shoulders here. All right, and then release and dance out your shoulders. Side to side. All right, and let's press into the thighs to come up to standing. I'm gonna do a little work with some squats today. So let's see how let's see, you can see my feet pretty good. So if you need to keep the chair for balance throughout this, you can keep it to your side or turn the chair if you have a hand. So just let's start to bounce on the knees. So if you're bringing your feet so they're under your hip bones, and just starting to bend your knees and bouncing up and down a little bit. Just kind of getting all the shakes out of the body, letting some of that extraneous energy just starting to bubble off of your skin, bubble out of your field, and drop down into the earth. If you want to make this a little bit more challenging, some people will lift up on their heels, so they're just bouncing on their toes. So you can also bounce here. This is a tradition that's more in Qigong, but I really like it because it helps to really settle the body and clear the field. All right, let's do this for another 10 seconds. Kind of letting your arms and everything jiggle around. And whenever you're ready, you can pause, coming into your tall mountain pose. So palms reach forward, legs are straight, moving into stillness. And taking 5 deep breaths here. And releasing your hands. So we're going to start with a 3/4 squat. So I'll move to the side a little bit. So 3/4 squat is just, you just bend your knees a little bit and you hang out here. So everybody show me your 3/4 squat. And release the knees, come back to straight legs, and then bend your knees again down for 3/4 squat. So we're going to do a few different exercises here. So the first one, so you're going to be down in 3/4 squat, and you're just going to lift your right foot off the ground. So find whatever balance you need to here. Again, the chair is always available if you need to hang on to it. Otherwise, your hands can be free or at your hips, whatever works for you here. So notice how you're starting to engage different muscles in the standing leg. Maybe you're starting to wiggle a little bit because your vestibular system is starting to kick in a little bit stronger. You can always release the foot if you need to. You can always hold on to the chair. All right, let's lower that leg down, staying low in your 3/4 squat. And we're going to shift the weight over to the other leg. So I'm on my right leg and I'm going to lift my left foot off the ground. So again, pausing and breathing here. Really feeling that standing foot ground and root into the ground. Noticing what happens the longer you stay here. Maybe your toes are adjusting, maybe your back's feeling different, maybe you're engaging muscles you haven't used in a while. And then slowly putting that foot back down to the ground, bending your knees a little bit to rise back up. Let's rise the arms, inhaling them overhead. Really reaching the hands up to the ceiling. If you want, you can bring your gaze looking up, stretching the front and the back bodies, and then exhale, releasing hands back down to your sides. All right, so let's add another little piece of this squat. So again, coming down to the 3/4 squat, just bending a little bit, switching your weight. My weight's gonna be on my left foot. And now I'm gonna straighten my right toes out, and I'm gonna place them on the ground, and I'm gonna drag my toes back to the position where my foot would be. So I'm gonna lift my foot up, reach the toes out straight, and then drag the toes back. I'll turn to the side a little bit so you can see me here. But you're gonna 3/4 squat, reach your toes straight out, and then drag the toes back and reach them out again. So maybe doing this 5 more times. Again, if you need the chair to balance, if you want to use your hands on your hips, just challenging yourself just a little bit here. All right, and last one. And draw your legs back straight. We'll inhale, arms overhead, reaching hands up to the ceiling. Really stretching high and planting your feet heavy into the ground. Look up, and then exhale, palms turn out, and slowly lower them down to the ground. All right, let's do the other side. So bending into your 3/4 squat, weight to your right foot, your left toes come straight out, and you're gonna drag them back. Lifting, straightening, and dragging the toes back. All right, I'm finding maybe 5 or 6 more on this side. And then when you finish, bring your hands back to your hips, planting your feet under your hips. We'll inhale, the arms out to the sides. And here, let's squeeze the glutes a little bit. So engaging the legs, maybe flattening out the front of the hips. And squeezing your toes into the ground. So my legs are very engaged right here on the ground. And then my upper body is a little bit looser right now. And we'll keep that strength in the legs. And we're gonna inhale to rise, arms out in sort of 45-degree angles right now. So now you're feeling more like a tree maybe, because your trunk is all nice and tense, right? You're squeezing your glutes, maybe your knees are pulling up, the front of your pelvis is flat, and you're gripping your toes into the ground. So lifting your arms, feeling like a big tree. You can even sway your arms a little bit. So really feeling that structure in the trunk and the flow in the upper shoulders and arms. Maybe coming to stillness. And breathing 3 more times. And then you can slowly release your arms, release the tension in your legs. And let's just walk everything out, finding some movement in your arms. and walking out your feet. All right, so we've kind of warmed up the hips and ankles and the knees a little bit. So I'm not sure what everybody's level of your actual squat is, but let's just give it a try. So a traditional squat, right, is when you bend your knees and you sit all the way down to the floor. So I'm not expecting everybody to do this today, but you can just check in where you are. So maybe you come down to about a half a squat. Maybe your hands are on your knees and you're gonna hang out here. Maybe you can come down a little bit more. And again, you can use your hands on the floor. You can even use your chair. Have your hands on the chair and then sit back. So you're using the chair for stability here. You might also just be slightly up. So again, most of your weight is on the chair. So you have more stability. And then for those of you that can come all the way down to the floor, you can still sit yourself on a block here. You can still use the chair if you wish. You can also just hold your knees. So let's take a few moments and find your squat, what that looks like for you today. And maybe you move back and forth between the different versions. Just noticing where your ankles get kinked, where your knees might be sore, and just come out of it if it's too much for you. You can always come back into like a half a squat. You can always just come back to standing, rocking your hips side to side. And then rolling your hips in circles here. And then rolling your hips in the other direction. And coming back to center, centering tall. Bringing your hands just behind your low back, squeezing your shoulders together, gaze looks up to the ceiling. And releasing, coming back down. So let's bring our feet a little bit wider than the hips. We're gonna bring the hands down to the tops of the knees. So this exercise is called spinal suspension. So we're gonna drop one shoulder, so the right shoulder over to the left and gently look over to the left. Back to center. Drop the left shoulder to the center. Look to the right. Back to center one more time each side. So in the center, you lengthen. So tucking the chin, lengthening from the tailbone out the top of the head. And then drop a shoulder, gently twist the upper spine to look to the left. Come back through center, lengthen, and twist and look over to your right. Back through center. Release, walking your hands back up your thighs. We'll inhale, arms overhead, really stretching hands up towards the ceiling. Pressing feet into the ground. And then turn the palms out. Release the hands back down to the sides. Finding yourself in your little teapot pose. Leaning to the right, leaning to the left. All right, and then bring your feet back to center. So let's come into our squat one more time. So you have the different versions of the squat. So you can either come down, say to a half, with resting your hands on your knees or on the chair. Or you can come down a little bit further. You can always just stay up in this 3/4 squat that we started with at the beginning. Or if you can, if this is comfortable for you, dropping all the way down to the floor. So wherever you are, just hanging out here for maybe 5 or 10 breaths. So whenever you're ready, making your way back to your standing position. We're gonna do one more little balance pose before we make our way back to the chair. So let's work with the actual tree pose. So bringing all your weight into your left foot, you're gonna raise the right knee up. So this might be your tree for today. You might be resting on your chair, holding your hip, and really concentrating on what it feels like to root that left foot deep down into the earth. So let's just stick with this one today. You can also keep your toes on the ground here and release the chair if you want, or just hold your knee up. All right, and let's slowly lower that foot down to the floor, walking out, left and right feet. And then coming into your right foot, planted on the ground. Straightening that leg, really rising out of the hips. So I'm not like slumped down into it. I'm really standing up tall and standing out of the hip. And then I'm gonna raise my left knee up. Again, you can keep this on the floor. I can put my toes on the edge of the chair rung if I want. Whatever adaptation needs to work for you right now. Practicing our balance and practicing our grounding. Deepening your breathing. And then allowing your foot to rest back to the floor whenever you're ready, walking out your hips side to side, maybe even bending your knees a little bit. And then even kicking your feet back behind you. All right, finding any other motions that feel good. We've worked the hips a bunch today, so maybe a little bit more circles, or really finding some extra side stretches, whatever might feel good to you right now. Maybe even doing a little extra quad stretches, If that's accessible to you, you can always put your foot on a chair and stretch the front of the body. It's another alternative to holding your foot. All right. Whenever you're ready, finding your way back to your chair. And we'll inhale, the arms overhead, bending one elbow down, lifting over to the side, straightening both arms, bending the opposite elbow, leaning over to the side. So back and forth. All right, and last round, one more time each side. And then bending both elbows, squeezing both shoulder blades. Making fists with your hands, really engaging all your upper torso here. Pulling your elbows in together. And then releasing and shaking out your hands, shaking out your shoulders. All right, let's do a little tapping to settle the body, tapping the cheekbones. Tapping the upper chest. Tapping in the center. And then tapping out at your sides. Under your armpits, halfway up your rib cage. Then holding the sides of your ribs, breathing into your ribs, feeling the expansion and the contraction. And slide your hands back down your hips, down your thighs. Hands comes up to your opposite shoulder, finding our crisscross side to side. So inhale, come up to the shoulder. Exhale, down and across. Inhale, hold the shoulder. Exhale, down. And then crossing at your own pace, back and forth. Shoulder to the hip, maybe even coming off of the knee as you sweep your arm forward and back to your shoulder. And then coming back to your hands at your hips, holding your hips, grounding, just feeling that comfort of your hands, holding all of these muscles we worked today. And then slowly sliding your hands down your thighs, pressing in like we did at the beginning of class, just gently coming down to your knees. And then lifting your hands, we'll come up to the low back this time, holding your low back, breathing a couple of times here. Feeling your hands, touching your back. And then ever so slowly bringing your hands down your hips. Slowly down to your thighs. And down toward your knees. And one more time, this time we're going to bring our hands up to the kidneys. So just one hand on either side, maybe a little bit higher than the waist. And breathing into that kidney space. The kidneys, what sits on top of the kidneys are the adrenals. So we're bringing some comfort here to our fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. Strengthening the kidneys and calming the adrenals. And whenever you're ready, slowly sliding your hands down the sides of your body, down your hips, coming around, maybe going down the sides of the thighs or the tops this time, slowly coming down to your knees. And releasing, drawing the arms up parallel to the floor. And just wiggling your fingers. Slowly bringing them in. Elbows back, just softly wiggling your fingers, drawing them forwards and slowly coming back. So you're nice and soft here, kind of like rowing an easy rowboat as you draw your elbows back and softly bring your hands forwards. And then maybe extending the arms out to the sides, palms reach up, pausing and breathing here, bending your elbows just a little bit. And being open to receiving. Maybe closing your eyes and taking a few moments to tune in to, if I were to be open to receiving right now, what would I warmly welcome into my life? As you're ready, you can slowly draw those elbows into your sides, bringing your hands back to your lap. And maybe you continue to be open to receiving through our closing meditation, just keeping your hands open on your lap, your heart open forward, and your shoulders gently back. So allowing the body to take a few more deep breaths. Maybe you turn your palms down to your thighs, bringing your awareness back to your body. And gently opening your eyes whenever you're ready. We'll release the hands down to the sides. Gaze looks up, heart opens forwards. And then tucking the chin to the chest. Gaze looks up and forwards. Tucking the chin into the chest. Last time, shoulders reach back. Gaze looks forward or up. Tucking the chin to the chest. And back to neutral sitting. We'll bring the hands back together at the heart space. Revisiting your intention from the beginning of class and noticing how it sits with you now. Breathing 3 times into your hands, into your hearts. Thank you all for joining me today for a wonderful class. Hope to see you again soon. Namaste.